My name is Lillian Truex, and this is my mechanics presentation for my level, Day in the Life of Willow block mesh. So from here, I want to start off with the mechanic of hunger and the energy bars. As you can see here, we can eat treats, they disappear, and the hunger refills. We can chatter, and that refills the energy. And if we wait for a little bit for it to go down, we can see that sleeping. That's also another mechanic. And that also refills energy. So I'll go over those really quickly in our blueprints. Alrighty, so for the energy and the health, or the hunger, I use hunger first as like a testing thing just to make sure I have all the code right, since energy is basically the same thing, just some tweaks in values. So for hunger duration, this is just a variable that I made out of the actual duration for the delay. You see down here in energy, I thought it would be easier to test. It wasn't, but it was good to make it just so I knew exactly where it was. Same down here with hunger depletion. Didn't necessarily need it for testing. It didn't make it necessarily easier, but I just wanted to make sure and see that I wasn't making things too harder on myself. So the hunger duration for hunger is about 8 seconds, and then you set hunger. We just get a regular value for hunger. The actual just default value is 1. Depletion is 0.1. So I minus hunger minus the hunger depletion, then set that value. And if it reaches 0, it goes into the branch. Same thing with energy, where it has a duration of 6.5 seconds. Energy is regular, and it's 0.1. It's 1, just like hunger, and then it minus 0.1 for the delay, and then set that for the new energy. Once it reaches 0, then we go into the branch. Both of these go into the death state, where we get the player character, disable the movement, add the lose widget to the viewport, we reset the hunger and energy back to 1, and then we put in the set input mode and the show mouse cursor for the lose HUD, just so the player can choose whether they want to retry or quit. Alrighty. And then for treats, we have over here, I have anim montages that I made for the treats, sleep, and chatter. These were mainly for player feedback, but as you can see, we wanted to disable movement when that animation was playing, so the player can't just move around while an animation is playing. That would be kind of weird. And then we play the eating sound effect. And then it flip-flops here, so when they first press E to interact, this is what they get. When they press E again to get out, it plays the end of the eating montage, so that end animation stops the sound, and then re-enables that player movement, destroys the treat actor, and this is really where it adds to the hunger. So we get the game mode, target, and then plus 0.5 for the hunger, and then set that as the new hunger variable. For the sleep, sleep and chatter are basically the same. They just have little differences where they have different animation montages, but it's coded roughly the same as the treats. Disable the movement, play the animation montage in the loop, play the sound effect, and then here we do that end animation for the animation montage, stop that music or that sound, re-enable the character movement, and this is where we get the energy and then plus 0.3 to that energy and set that as the new energy variable here. For the chatter, like I said, roughly the same thing. The only thing is that I used a sound cue instead of a regular just sound for this. Again, we disable movement, play that, play the end, stop it, re-enable character movement, and then set that energy back. Yeah, and there are different areas where the player can do these few things, so that way energy is more scattered around the level. Right. And so those are those mechanics. And then another mechanic I can talk about over here is Bailey. So, hello Willow, I've been really tired lately. I've misplaced some bones throughout the house, but I'm too tired to get them. Would you mind retrieving my bones for me? You can walk up to bones to collect them. Also, the humans have been complaining about you using the laundry chute in the bathroom to get downstairs. Have you been doing that? So, for Bailey, here, this is her talk event. So I made a HUD specifically for her dialogue, and this is the dialogue array, and this has every line of conversation that she has with the talk index, making sure talk index is less than the length of the dialogue, just so there's no errors, and we increment the talk index by 1 here, and this goes into the branch, right? So if that's true, right, if it's still less than, then we get the UI. So this is the HUD that I use. I just named it UI here for the variable, as you can see. Right over here is where we actually set that variable for her talk dialogue HUD. So if it's valid, we get the dialogue and talk index, convert those to strings and put that in the text, and then we just set the text. Talk text is a variable that I use in the HUD for the text that pops up. So we just get the talk text and set it to the dialogue. And then for if it's not valid, so if this UI is not valid, then we create it, then add it to viewport. And if this is true, like if this is false, where the talk index is not less than the length of the dialogue, then we remove that UI from the parent. So, yeah. And then down here, I tried doing an end event and it didn't really work the way I wanted to, but it was more for testing purposes. I really like the way that it turned out right here. And then this is more just the E. When the player walks up, it gives them that E prompt to interact, and this is just the collision for that. So yeah, that is Bailey's. And the next mechanic I'll talk about is bones. So as you can see from the dialogue, you can walk up to bones and collect them. As you can see, the bones collected up at the top left. It'll count up, so let's look at that in the blueprints. Alrighty, so in here, it's a little messy right here, but it's more for just, this is all the spinning that the bone does, how to get it to spin. This is just getting the world rotation here finished, and then play from start to just keep having it spin, and this is the timeline for the spinning, and then just the setting the world rotation with all the little variables. Yeah, and then down here is really where the code is. When the player overlaps that collision, we get that player character, and I made a integer variable in here to just store in the third person blueprint of bones collected, and we get those, add 1, and then set that. There was a total bones collected variable I made for testing purposes. I don't really use it, but it is there. And then we destroy actor after that. So those are the bones. And then if you go back, the last mechanic I want to show you is the laundry chute mechanic. You press E, and it does teleport the player down to this laundry chute downstairs. This is one of the 3 paths the player can take to get down to the owner. This was actually quite a fun mechanic to make. I really liked learning about it and getting to know how to do that. So let's look at that in the blueprints as well. Alright, and it was actually fairly simple. I thought it was going to be much harder, but we get this telepose transform variable. This is that, just a pin is struct, and that's where I move that to get that where I wanted it to. Put the rotation into set actor location and rotation, put the location, we just transform the location, and then get the player actor, and that's how I did that.